Ravenwood Rest Cemetery had a reputation darker than the thick ancient trees that surrounded it. Once the burial ground for a small mining town, it was abandoned after a fire destroyed the town in 1883. The cemetery was said to be cursed. Those who entered after midnight often reported hearing blood-curdling screams echoing through the grounds, though no one was ever found. For decades, locals avoided it. But there were always thrill seekers, and on this night, 3 friends, Sam, Mia, and Eric, decided to test the legend. "You hear that?" Eric asked, his voice trembling with nervous bravado. They stood just inside the rusted gates of Ravenwood Rest, flashlights in hand. Mia rolled her eyes. "It's just the wind," she said, though her grip on the flashlight tightened. The air was unnaturally cold, and the moonlight barely penetrated the thick canopy of dead trees. Sam checked his watch. 5 minutes to midnight. If we hear screams, we'll record it and be famous. The plan was simple. Wait until midnight, document any sounds, and leave. But nothing ever goes as planned. As the clock struck 12, the cemetery seemed to exhale. The wind stopped, and the silence was deafening. Mia was the first to notice the change. "It's too quiet," she whispered. Even the usual nocturnal sounds, crickets, owls, rustling leaves, had ceased. Then came the faintest sound. It was distant, almost imperceptible, but unmistakably human, a muffled scream. Eric's flashlight flickered. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his bravado fading. Sam nodded, his face pale. "It's probably just someone messing with us." But the scream grew louder, more agonized, as if someone was being tortured just out of sight. The sound seemed to come from everywhere at once, circling them. Panicked, but unwilling to admit it, they moved deeper into the cemetery, following the screams. The gravestones became more elaborate, marked with strange symbols none of them recognized. Some were cracked, others freshly overturned, as if something had disturbed them from below. Mia stopped suddenly, her flashlight fixed on one grave. "Look at this," she said. The name on the gravestone was hers. M.I.A. Harper, 1995 to 2023. She heard them scream. Her blood ran cold. "This isn't funny, guys," she snapped, but Sam and Eric looked equally horrified. Then Sam found another grave, his name etched in jagged letters, the same year of death. Eric stumbled back as his light illuminated his own name on a headstone. The screams grew deafening, now interwoven with whispers that seemed to crawl into their ears. "You shouldn't have come." A dark figure appeared at the edge of their flashlight's reach. It didn't move, but its presence was oppressive, as if it were sucking the warmth and light from the world around it. "Who's there?" Eric shouted, his voice cracking. The figure didn't respond, but the shadows around it began to stretch toward them, slithering like smoke. Mia grabbed Sam's arm. "We have to leave, now!" she screamed. They turned to run, but the path they came from was gone, replaced by an endless row of gravestones. The cemetery had shifted, trapping them in its depths. As they stumbled through the labyrinth of graves, the screams changed. Now they sounded familiar. Eric's voice, then Sam's, then Mia's, each scream more anguished than the last. "It's mimicking us," Sam gasped, but he was wrong. The realization hit Mia first. "No," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "It's us." The screams were coming from beneath the ground. The trio stopped in horror as they saw fresh graves being dug in real time, by unseen hands. Each grave bore their names. Eric tripped and fell onto one of the freshly dug graves. The earth beneath him gave way, and he screamed as he was dragged into the darkness. His flashlight clattered to the ground, its beam illuminating his face for one horrifying second before the dirt closed over him. "Eric!" Mia screamed, but Sam pulled her away. "We can't help him!" The shadows were closing in, the figure now moving toward them, its face still obscured. Whispers surrounded them. "Stay. Forever." The ground beneath Mia cracked, and she fell, her screams merging with the unearthly chorus. Sam was alone now, running blindly, his flashlight flickering. He stopped when he reached a mausoleum. Its heavy doors creaked open as if inviting him in. With no other choice, Sam entered, slamming the doors shut behind him. Inside was a single coffin, open and empty. On the wall above it were the words, "The screams outside stopped abruptly." For a moment there was silence. Then a soft voice behind him said, "You can't run from the keeper." Sam turned, but it was too late. The figure stood inches away, its face a shifting void of darkness. A skeletal hand reached out, and everything went black. The next morning, the groundskeeper found 3 new graves in the cemetery. Each bore a name and a date: Sam, Mia, and Eric, 2023. The screams began again that night, louder than ever. The legend of Ravenwood Rest grew, drawing more curious souls to its cursed grounds. But none ever left.